Hello everyone, it's so great to see y'all back on my channel. Today I'm thrilled to have a very special guest, Supriya Gupta, join us. Supriya has a wealth of experience in product management, AI, and tech leadership. We'll be diving into Supriya's thoughts around product management and AI. And please note that our opinions and views are our own and not those of our current nor former employers. Supriya, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So, could you begin by telling the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am currently the CEO and founder of Supriya.ai. This is an AI advisory practice and product studio that focuses on human and AI interfaces. Before this, I spent the vast majority of my career focused on AI, as well as the function of product management at companies like Meta and Credit Karma, which is now part of Intuit.
Amazing. Sounds like you have a wealth of experiences in AI and product management, so I'm sure we'll learn a lot from you today. So how should someone decide between staying in IC or moving into management as part of their product management discipline?
So being an IC and being a manager in product management really are very, very fundamentally different jobs requiring very distinct skill sets. When you think about being an IC and moving on in your career, where you might be thinking about, hey, should I be an IC? Should I move on to management? You're typically, I imagine, reaching senior levels as an IC. And you have a decision on sort of like what's that fork in the road of which path you want to take. So when you think about becoming more and more senior as an IC in product management, that's really about the opportunity to work on really complex, likely very cutting edge from a technology perspective as well, problems that really help you hone not only very specific strengths in your product, core product skill set, as well as having this deep technical expertise that you can apply onto these really complex problems. So when I see ICs moving up on the IC track, you get more and more and more of these really interesting problems. Moving into management means focusing much more on things like team building, hiring, retaining, mentorship, organizational leadership, bringing the larger organization along. And those are very, very, very different than, say, things like getting really deep in, say, the implications of AI on how you build product. So really, it's a personal preference, I would say, in terms of like what really speaks to you in terms of skill development.
Got it. So it sounds like it's, being an IC is more focusing on very complex problems to solve, and then being in management is more focusing on how do we build high quality teams.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is it becoming more common to stay on this IC track, especially as we think about how the tech in general trends are coming along?
Yeah, I'm sure you've probably seen this on the internet as well. This whole notion of the super ICPM. And really, honestly, I think this is a huge advancement because of AI. And so AI is really demanding much more of a deep technical expertise around how, you use AI and leverage AI. And that means that you can take on much more products, you can take on much more projects, you can take on much more complexity as a single person. So AI is now making it possible to say, like, you can be 15 years, 20 years into your PM career and take on these massive projects as a single person. Why? Because AI is actually enabling you to sort of 10x your output in a way, but still leverage all that deep expertise you've had throughout your career. So I'm actually seeing this happen much more frequently now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think especially with new technology coming on, especially with AI, it really unlocks sort of the productivity of super senior ICs for sure. So how about the manager track? What are the key differences and skills to consider developing?
Well, being a manager in product management, aside from all the usual management stuff, so this is like clear goal setting, delegation, making sure the swim lanes are clear across your teams, coordinating across different, functional organizations. Aside from all of that general stuff, in product management, the biggest difference between being an IC and being a manager is that focus on overall strategy. Your job is now to ensure that not that it just things that just ship on time, but that your entire portfolio works together in concert and has the actual intended impact. And this chasm that PMs cross between IC to becoming a manager, it's really hinging on really strengthening those skills around having that strategic thinking across all aspects of your job. So it's no longer just relegated to that, annual planning process that I'm sure you all can relate to and love well. But it's really about actually integrating that thinking into every single day-to-day interaction. It's course correcting your teams at every meeting, at every interaction, at every review, through influence, with authority, sometimes without authority still at other times, depending on who you're talking to, ensuring alignment to strategy constantly, and also communicating upward, outward, and down to your teams to ensure everyone is focused on exactly that goal of your product. And so you get exposure to this as an IC. I'm sure all of you can relate, those of you who are ICs, that you get some exposure to this here and there. The big difference is that when you move into management, it's really a big majority of your job. And so building these skills early and getting exposure is really to a huge advantage and really sets you up for growth in this direction.
Makes sense. So it sounds like strategy and communication and influence are all kind of skills that we have to kind of up level in order to kind of be a really great manager and leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are definitely the key areas to focus on.
Awesome. Is there anything to consider for PM managers with the increase in the prevalence of AI?
Yeah, I mean, AI is just actually dramatically changing how PMs do their job. I'm sure all of you are experiencing that. So when you're thinking about this from a manager's perspective, it means that AI's impact on PMs being able to do their job is, I would say that it has the ability to actually turn almost any PM, who knows what they're doing, obviously, but any PM into like a 10x PM, right? Because all of a sudden, instead of actually doing your product strategy that everyone loves really like a lot and loves doing once a year, now you can actually do this continuously and with a lot less effort. Instead of writing a PRD, you can go straight to prototyping. I don't know if you've tried using Claude to write a PRD and then popping it into Bolt, and then you all of a sudden, it's like magic. You have like a prototype and it took you like 30 minutes. I mean, it's actually kind of crazy. And so if you think about these types of fundamental changes on how product managers did their jobs and what they can do today, you can see this level of productivity increase with the effect of it actually having very, very much higher quality output. And this is actually extremely imperative because the cost of development is dropping. So what does this mean for companies and businesses? It means that it is much more important to build the right thing than to just ship. It's not good enough to just go fast. It never was, but it's a lot more critical to get it right because going fast is now easy. It's getting it right that's actually hard. And so therefore, there's a much bigger onus on product managers to get it right, to use the power of AI to produce very high quality product work to support their teams and ensure that they're all focused in the right direction, not just shipping fast. So what does this mean for product managers? This management managers, that means that each PM is now going to be producing a lot more work, higher quality work, higher fidelity work, across wider swaths of products. Each product manager can do that. So the scope of the role and the challenge that product managers have as product management managers have is really having that purview of strategic thinking across a much bigger surface area. And so again, building on that note of like being strong at strategy, the onus and need for PM managers to be strategically sound is even higher in this new world, I would say, with AI. Then this is aside from having those expectations of your PMs having this type of throughput.
Amazing. Yep. It sounds like both PM managers as well as PMs have to kind of up level the quality of their output, and especially for PM manager, strategy is becoming much more critical for the teams and for the product.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what does AI mean for IC career growth? What should IC PMs focus to stay ahead?
So with AI, like I mentioned earlier, with this notion of the super ICs, AI is really just making that IC track much more viable and valuable. Senior ICs are going to have the increasingly opportunities to work on very interesting, groundbreaking problems because AI is going to eliminate a lot of the grunt work, whether it's product grunt work or grunt work of other functions as well, so that really like the best PMs, especially as they rise, they'll get to work on more and more and more interesting, frontier facing problems, which is really exciting. And I think that the other really interesting thing about being a PM at this time is also having the breadth of responsibility widen a bit. So you'll see PMs taking on things that engineering and design teams would typically take on, maybe not to a full extent, but like that example I mentioned earlier, using Claude to create a PRD, going into Bolt and creating a prototype that has both design and engineering elements. This is actually starting to flex some of those muscles that usually engineering and design teams had to do to get a project off the ground. Now, a lot of that 0-to-1 work can actually be done by a PM. So it's not to say that those jobs will go away, but more that there'll be some bleeding between the three different functions even more, which is maybe a good thing, actually, right? So that the teams can all talk in the same language. We all love the three-legged stool. And so I think that as an ICPM, like focusing on staying ahead of cutting edge AI and how to really use it to your advantage is really one very, very key thing to learn. If you're not already using AI to streamline processes, to prototype, or even think about how you can drive personalization in your products that you're shipping to your client, to your customers, then I think those are the areas to really focus on, because the PMs that really focus there, they're going to have a very big competitive edge over the PMs that don't.
Makes sense. So we talk a lot about kind of what AI means for career growth and how we can stay ahead in terms of leveraging AI. Is there a world for non-AI experiences? Where do you see real traction versus hype?
Well, there's definitely a world for non-AI experiences because we're not all moving into the matrix. At least I'm not ready to become a battery quite yet. So it's definitely not happening anytime soon. But of course, yes. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of businesses that will retain a strong human element. Real estate, we all need to live in houses. That's still going to exist as like a funny example, but even more nuanced examples like marketing. I've been spending a good bit of my time with marketers as of late as part of my client base. And, one of the things that I learned from working with them is that, using ChatGPT to pump out all sorts of, generic copy for ads as an example, yeah, I can do that. But it requires really good input and honestly taste to create really great advertising. And so there are things that AI can do well with respect to automation and things like that, but there's things that really like humans are just better at doing because they have taste and experience and insights that really AI can't replicate. So marketers are, I think, actually a very interesting example because there's a lot of hype around marketing being one of the first functions to be completely automated. But when you talk to real marketers who are actually trying to use AI, it's not like they're not using AI, but it's not necessarily the promise that you would think from, reading the headlines as such. So when you think about like traction versus hype, I think in general, the companies that are going to really thrive in using AI are the ones who are going to apply it in the right places and in the right ways. Like you see a lot of these companies out there that are leading with AI as a solution, or they're going to market with the word agents because agent sounds really great and it sells well. But sometimes it's like nothing behind it. It's like, it's actually just an if then else, rules engine, or it's just not what you think it actually is, or it's not actually that fancy, or even worse is it actually is that fancy and it was completely unnecessary for it to be that fancy, and now it's really just expensive and I could have just built it with normal technology and I didn't need to do it that way. And it's great that that works in a sales pitch, but at the end of the day, the companies that aren't really applying AI in the places where it's actually creating value and avoiding applying AI where it's not, those are the companies that are going to likely suffer, I think, in this new evolution. It's really important to actually focus on the problem. And honestly, this is where I think a lot of the hype is. There's a lot of companies out there right now in market that aren't really focused on the problem. They're really excited about selling AI as a solution because it sells well and it makes investors happy. But that's not really a winning strategy that's durable in the long term, and we all know that. So honestly, I'd urge you all as listeners, as great, fantastic PMs who want to build great products, please solve problems with AI. Don't just build solutions.
I love it. Where's the wisdom from Supriya? Please solve problems with AI. Don't just build solutions. I love it so much. So I think we're running out of time. So would love to give the audience kind of one last hurrah in terms of understanding what's next for Supriya.
What's next for me? All right. So as you've probably picked up from this conversation, I'm really deeply interested in understanding how, as a society, whether it's across functions or different industries, how we can best leverage AI to supercharge humans to do their best work. So I'm not talking about replacing humans with automation, but more so enabling professionals to do what they do best and leveraging their unique skills, their talents, their experiences, insights, taste, the things that AI really can't replicate, and marry that with the power of AI and use that to really accelerate businesses. So for instance, since launching Supriya.ai, I've observed a big unlock of business value across a handful of clients now who are really focusing on using AI to solve problems that look a lot like this. So as an example, one of my clients is now set up to 5x her business due to the AI gains that she's finding by being smart about her strategy in this way. And I'm really excited to take on projects like this and build solutions that I can offer up to the broader industry as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thanks so much, Supriya, for sharing your thoughts, insights, and wisdom. Please check out Supriya.ai for more information on how to best partner with her. I hope this episode was helpful for the audience. And thanks again, Supriya, for taking the time to share your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Helinda. Thanks for having me.